Okay. All right, we don't have a public hearing, but we do have public comments on the agenda items. So, or citizen comments on the agenda items.
For this first set, we had no speakers.
Okay.
I got one.
Okay. Bylaw amendment. Let's read through that. And is there any comments or anything anybody has on that that they want to make on that? It's open. Keith?
In part A, under number 1, that second paragraph, it says 2 meetings or 25%. Well, 2 meetings for us would only be 8%. It seems like that number could be higher. We meet
Yeah, we have.
24 times a year.
Wait, how many times?
24, twice a month.
And
Yeah.
Usually we suspend one meeting,
So
Yeah.
actually 23.
actually 23.
Yeah, we don't usually do Christmas. So 23, so what will the turn out to be? That's a lot less, that's 8%, right?
Well, 1 over 24 would be 8%, 1 over 23 would be something else.
Well, okay, so we change that to actually 8%.
No, I'm not saying make it 8%. Right now it says 25% or 2. That's
Oh.
a huge gap. They don't jive at all.
So which one of the numbers?
I would like to see the 2 come up. 2 is very restrictive. If you've got somebody that's still.
May I add, if you look at the state code section that's on the second page, if you look under A, item, let's see, A, B, it says participation by member pursuant to this subdivision is limited each calendar year to 2 meetings.
So we can't change that.
No, that's state code.
Well, that's nice.
Do we
So
interpret?
I would say you take the percent out and just leave it as 2, not just state code.
Right. Okay, all right, let's do that.
And just for clarification, what will that mean then? What will the number be? Will it be 2 meetings?
2.
Just 2 meetings, because it's already mandated by the state.
So the current 25%
Is
is
irrelevant.
not in state code.
Right.
It's superfluous at meetings, unless we go down to 4 meetings a year.
No, there's nothing in B, in section 2.2-3708.2, there's nothing in there other than 2 meetings. So it's pretty cut. So,
Tracy, do we currently have, I mean, this is an amendment, or is this a offered addition? to this?
That was going to be one of my questions. This is an offered addition, and I need to know where you want to put it in the bylaws, what section you want to put it under.
So currently, there isn't anything
Correct.
like this.
Correct.
We're just embracing this.
Correct.
And that particular item cannot be anything but what we're offering. Okay.
Are there any other things in our amendment that's different than the state code? Like, say, the 25% of the city one?
Not that I recall.
Is it
now there is a part in here, 2A2, is talking about how you can, is about, if he or she is unable to attend a meeting due to temporary or permanent disability or other medical conditions that prevents the member's physical attendance, the commissioner by majority vote approves electronic participation by the commission members, and the commission records records dispatch the remote location from which the member participated in minutes. So this gives you, of course, you can't just be at work and say
No,
I'm wrong, but that does give you.
Undergoing cancer treatments or something like that, but still want to participate.
Absolutely. So
That's actually part of the state code, right?
I believe it is.
Yes.
That is.
So.
So the only thing that we're adding is the first page.
And we can't change it in any way. We can't change the state code. We could make it less, but we can't make it more.
Correct.
But do we have to reiterate that for it to be effective?
Because it's gonna automatically fall back to state code anyway, but we need something in our bylaws to say that you all have adopted
To open the
policy.
door.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Does this mean regular meeting, or does this mean regular meeting and workshop meeting?
Any,
Any.
We really said one.
So if you're on a special committee and you have one to come in on, and you miss it, that's a miss?
Oh, you're talking about subcommittee meetings?
Yes, subcommittee meetings, it would be,
Well, that's not.
well, it says, any meeting where the public business is discussed, so those subcommittee meetings are open to the public.
I mean, that could get really,
I would encourage us to try not to do that, but I'm not sure. I'd have to.
I mean, I'm just that, you know,
You got two tokens. I guess if you want to cash one in for a subcommittee meeting, it's up to you.
Tracy, I have a question. Is this inspired by what is followed at the level of the board of supervisors?
Yeah, actually, this is an exact copy and paste from the board's policy.
So we're just following along with what the board is doing. So
Correct.
that's it.
Yes.
So,
So if it's okay for the board, it should be okay for us. I guess that's the way to think about it, or at least.
It is adopted into their policy, yes.
so we're just trying to make sure we understand it before we get into it, that's all.
We could, however, clarify, couldn't we? If, for example, we wanted to say that this particular part didn't apply to subcommittee meetings, could we?
It says any, subject to the grounds, may conduct any meeting wherein the public business is discussed or transacted through electronic communication means. Any meeting, I would interpret that to say it would include subcommittee. It doesn't say. It
I
says
guess I
any
wonder if
meeting.
we have the ability to make what I might think would be corrections, just like we did. I think we just made a correction. We took out 25% because that obviously was not, even if it was intended, it wasn't correct. And I don't know that we wouldn't also waive subcommittees from this, because very often we have members that, sometimes we have 3 on a subcommittee and we'll have 2 and we'll still have the meeting.
Right, because you
Yes.
don't necessarily need a quorum for these subcommittee meetings, but you need a chairman, of course.
I'm okay with it though. Let's just leave it as it is. I guess should the Board of Supervisors begin to take a look at this again, it would be nice if someone asked them that question.
So,
Well, this has to sit for 30 days, the bylaw amendment, so I can take that something back to the administration for you. So you want to
If their intention
exclude
was to be consistent, that we apply this to subcommittees, I'm okay with that. I just think it's possible that wasn't their intention.
Okay,
so Tracy, if somebody knows they're not going to be there at the meeting, right? They could choose to apply one of their 2 opportunities to do this per year to whichever meeting they know they can attend, right? So they could choose to apply it to a subcommittee if it was worth it to them, or to a full committee or a work session or whatever, yes? But it's not something that we are going to have any effect on the other members of the commission. It's just for the person who doesn't want to be there and wishes to participate can then use one of their 2 opportunities. Am I understanding it
that is
correctly?
correct.
Because we still have to have a physical quorum to kick off the meeting, correct?
A subcommittee,
No.
oh, regular meeting. Oh, yes, of course, oh, yeah, it's in here.
So it wouldn't inhibit our ability
No, as long
to
as it's
start a
one of
meeting,
your,
because you still have to have a physical quorum.
yes.
So what it does is it enables the person who's not there to vote,
Remotely.
remotely, they participate and vote. So I guess they could choose when to exercise that.
I guess I would, if indeed we enact this, I would encourage people not to use that for subcommittees. To save that for meetings, which, as I understand it, will still have to already have a quorum, but then it would allow them to vote.
So, you want to make an amendment?
The only other question, Mr. Chairman, this doesn't mention anything about declarations, emergency declarations.
That's in the state.
So according to this, in that it doesn't mention emergency declarations, would we have been able to do what we just did? Or would this deny us the opportunity under a state of emergency to go for a period of time not following this?
I'm not following what you're asking.
I just wondered if this is not enacted, this will be added.
Right.
After we add it, will it allow us to meet remotely in an emergency, declared emergency?
That can only be done through executive order by the Board of Supervisors, which is separate than this.
So does that need to be,
So-
does that need to be mentioned here?
I would say no, because that can only be done at the Board of Supervisor level. You guys don't have the authority to put that language in there. That would be my opinion without
Fair enough.
asking. And it does, let's see. If you look on the state code, let's see, first page, number 3. It talks about the declaration of the state emergency.
Which is how we operated starting in March.
Correct. But that can only be done by the Board of Supervisors.
That's the answer. Thank you.
All right. We want to, of course, we got at least one change to this document. Is there any other changes? Concerns?
Can you bear with me for just a second?
Welcome to Zoom. Enter your meeting ID followed by pound. Enter your participant ID followed by pound. You are in the meeting now. There are 3 participants in the meeting. This meeting is being recorded. You are muted. You can mute or unmute yourself by pressing *6. You are unmuted.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You may proceed.
Okay, so back to where we were. First, we have the one change of under A1 dot, or A1, and the change from what would be calendar year to 2 meetings, and delete the or 25% of the meetings.
Mr. Chairman, I suggest that we go ahead and send this on for review and process it once it returns.
What section would you like to put it under in the bylaws?
Does staff have a recommendation?
I would say either meetings or voting.
Yeah, I would agree, I was about to say meeting, section 7.
Seven point six, under meetings?
Okay.
Thank you.
So that was a motion or was it?
Yeah, just, well, I don't know if you need a motion, it's a motion if you need one. If it's just gonna, if this is just gonna go back for review,
Right.
we just probably need a consensus. Because I think ultimately it'll come back to us
In 30 days.
in 30 days.
Okay, all right. Go around the room. Keith, what do you think?
No, I agree with that.
Okay.
No
Kathy?
problem.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Very good. All right, and we'll move on. Thank you all. All right, now we have new business with Leona Dean, special use permit application and introduction. Ms. Potterbuck.
So as you'll see in your packet, Leanna Dean, she owns property located at 2980 Leesville Road in Luray. The property is about 2.4 acres. It's currently zoned as agricultural. It has several accessory buildings and a single-family dwelling. And also I think they have a above-ground pool on the property as well. The SUP would allow Ms. Dean to operate a hair salon from her primary residence. The proposed business will be conducted out of an existing accessory structure. The structure is total, or approximately a 30 by 25 total in size. However, she's only going to use a 16 by 12 area for the hair salon. Pursuant to 12510C3 of the zoning ordinance, home occupations are permitted by right. However, if you go to 125-15 of the zoning ordinance, it does say that any home occupation that's conducted out of an accessory building is required to have a special use permit. So this is why she is having to apply for the SUP. She is consulted with VDOT, the health department, and the building official, Don Williams. They've all returned no objections. Don has already been to the site and give his approval. She didn't have to get any permits. Pretty much everything was already set up for the use. It does, I won't read it, it's in your staff report, but I feel like it does support the comp plan. The comp plan does say that we should encourage economic growth that is compatible with the county's rural character while generating a positive net cash flow for the county. She obviously will be required to obtain and maintain a Page County business license, which will obviously generate revenue for the county. Staff is requesting that you schedule this for public hearing. Now, I always hate holding people up. And as you know, the SUP process, it does take a while because we have to have an intro, public hearing, and, at this level and the board level. So I would like for you to possibly consider having her public hearing at the next meeting, which would be August the 25th. It is doable if I run the ads in 2 separate newspapers. Again, if we push it off, it's going to be September. If we push it and then assuming everything goes through here, then it won't even go to the board until November. So I'm just trying to, I've asked you to consider that. If not, then the next regular meeting would be September the 8th. And if we do decide to have it at the next meeting, which is a work session, it's still a public hearing and there's still opportunity to comment under the public hearing. So property owners would still have the right to come in and voice their opinions. Go ahead.
Question. Will we have any special procedures for the landowners to send written or exceptional notices, additional notices, if we're requiring them to send, because they can't, perhaps, this may happen again and again, we're limited in numbers by this room. So will we change the way we advertise to let the folks that are neighbors know that they should send their responses in writing?
We already do that. When I send out the memo notifying them of the details of the SUP, we always attach that comment form. So that's what we've been doing. And on the memo, I always say, you're welcome to attend, or you can submit your comments in writing.
And I just didn't want someone coming for their one time, the one time they're coming here, and they're denied entry. And they haven't submitted something in writing. That was my concern.
If you have if you have a suggestion on what, as long as we follow state code and get notice to them, I'm willing to take suggestions if you think there's a better way. But we have to, this goes to them via certified mail. So they are signing.
So they have 2 weeks. You'll do that tomorrow.
Yes, the notices would go out tomorrow.
2 weeks.
Yeah, I think it's fine. I think we will likely run into a situation over a period of time where someone who thinks that they can come to the meeting and is expecting to be here, and I don't know, over a period of time, it'll get fixed. People will become aware. So I'll leave it to staff's judgment. That would be my concern. My concern would be we have a member of the community who just comes for one special use permit for a neighbor who is unfamiliar with the way it works now. If staff's comfortable with the way it is, then I'm okay with it. Mr. Chairman, I recommend that we send this on and process this as quickly as we can.
Okay, so for 2 weeks. Okay, and do we have a second on that? All right, seconded by Mr. Weekly. Discussion on this, yeah, I agree that we do. This looks pretty, of course, we need more hair salons in the county, especially, I can't get anything done with my hair right now. So, yeah, I think it's good, and I think that this is, it looks like it just almost wouldn't have to be here, like Tracy was saying. If it wouldn't have been in another building, this wouldn't be here now. So it's pretty, it's just an outbuilding, or it's a adjacent building, and nobody else, none of the VDOT, anybody else seems to have a problem with that. And I think we ought to go along with it. Is there any other comments? Anybody have anything other than what I had to say?
Tracy, should we consider, is this an unnecessary hurdle? Or do you think that this is the way that, at this point, requiring a special use permit, do you think that's reasonable?
Unfortunately, I hate it because it looks, on paper, it looks so simple, but I'm afraid that it is appropriate, because across the board, you have to do it. You look at the lawnmower business that we had, you look at the gun shop that we had.
True.
Those are the exact same situations, and every SUP related to home occupations are different. There's a chance we won't hear from any neighbors on this. It's back off the road, you don't even hardly know it's there, where, something else may come along that's in an accessory building that we might. So, I do think it's
Thank you, Mr.
appropriate.
Chairman.
Okay. Then let's, I guess then we ought to do a roll call on this.
Mr. Holsinger,
Yes.
Mr. Middleton,
Yes.
Mr. Atkins,
Yes.
Mr. Weekly,
Yes.
Ms. Gregg, Mr. Huffman,
Yes.
and Mr. Miller.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, very good. All right, unfinished business. Anybody have anything? I don't have anything right now. All right,
Mr. Chairman, it's already marked as none. on the-
yes, I know, but somebody wants something. If there was something else in there that we didn't have. The open citizen comment period.
There are 4 speakers. Beth Snyder.
I was wondering if I understood it right from the last meeting with the Berkeley group, that you're now considering having no size limit on the solar, because it sounded like you were trying to take that out altogether. And that's pretty worrisome. The Berkeley group seemed like they had a lot of good recommendations, and the county paid for the recommendations, but it seems like if you strip out all the protections, then the county's just wasting their money on having paid for all those recommendations. So it seemed that they had given you several recommendations that were just struck out for, well, we don't understand what that means, or we don't want to put a size limit on it. So I guess I would just like to say once again, it would be nice if you guys would consider protecting the county and the citizens when you're trying to put an ordinance in place. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Knight.
Mr. Humphrey.
My name is Clyde Humphrey. Okay, we, meaning Paul Otto, Charlie Newman, and myself, support solar farms in Page County. We're in favor of them. We are not opposed, provided it is properly regulated. And that's the role of the solar ordinance. The reason solar farms need to be regulated is to protect our county. Our county's economy is about $165 million per year in agriculture, and about $90 million per year in tourism. And while solar is vitally important to reducing our dependence on fossil fuels, which is good, solar will not make any significant contribution to our county budget. Maybe $100,000, $200,000 per year in taxes, which is minuscule compared to our economy in agriculture and tourism. We need to make sure that solar farms do not harm the economy that we have. We have been working on the solar ordinance for about 2 years. We have developed a fairly high level of expertise. When the Berkeley group gave you a draft ordinance in November of 2019, we marked it up with about 90 recommended changes. Those were provided to you in writing in February of this year. Our changes were intended to improve the ordinance. Only 1 or 2 changes were really debatable. One was in regard to area, and I'll come back to that. In February, you told us that you would review our recommended changes after you reviewed Berkeley Group's draft and the proposed changes from your subcommittee. We're still waiting. We would still like for you to review the recommendations that we made. Referring to the question of area, we recommended the area enclosed by the security fence be not more than 150 acres. This is not arbitrary. We feel that that is the maximum area that could be effectively screened so as to preserve our existing. so as to not adversely affect tourism in particular. The area enclosed by the security fence has the advantage of being a very well-defined and meaningful area. The total area of the site is not something we need to regulate. If you have a 150-acre solar farm on a 600-acre site, it's totally immaterial from a regulation point of view as to how big the total site is. Likewise, we do not need to regulate the percent of the site that is utilized by solar. We're only concerned with how much is utilized by the solar farm. We should focus on what is important, how it affects our economy. We also recommend a solar farm should be outside the planning tiers of the towns. We also recommend that it should be 1 mile from the towns so as to not constrain the growth of the towns over the next 40 to 70 years. And we recommend they be 1/4 mile from the federal highways, particularly US 211 and US 340, so as to protect our tourism. Again, these recommendations are to protect our economy. They're not arbitrary. As an aside, I looked at what effect these recommendations would have on the Hauser property, which had previously been proposed for solar development. If they abided by these recommendations, they would still be able to develop a solar farm of approximately 150 acres on their site. So it doesn't shut anybody out. And that would be about twice the size of the Dogwood project, which is only 76 acres within the security fence. So we request the commissioners carefully review all of the recommendations that we have submitted. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hoffman.
Chris Anderson?
Good evening, Mr. Miller, members of the Planning Commission. I am representing the Alliance for the Shenandoah Valley, and I am also a citizen of Page County, residing in District 3. The size of the utility scale developments is one of the most important issues for determining the impacts to Page County. And for scale, I wanted to share some common locations in Luray and their sizes. Walmart, including the building and parking lot, is about 8 acres. Luray High School, including the building and parking lot, is about 14 acres. East Luray Shopping Center, its building and parking lot, plus the Wrangler plant, is 26 acres. The Luray Caverns parking lot down to Highway 211 and Cave Hill is about 111 acres. If you add in the Liberty Station next to Walmart, the West Luray Shopping Center, Luray Elementary and Middle Schools, plus all of those buildings, parking lots, and ball fields, the total is about 225 acres. So we need size limits so these installations do not negatively impact the rural character of Page County. Citizens have been alarmed at the suggested size of 500 acres in the draft solar ordinance that the Berkeley Group created, and have urged much smaller size limits in order to uphold the language in our comprehensive plan to protect our tourism and agricultural sectors. Now there's been a remark that there be no size limits on utility scale solar developments. We are blessed to live in a beautiful, small, rural county that people come from all over the world to see and enjoy. We need to protect prime agricultural land. The county's economy depends on working agricultural lands, and a strong tourism economy is closely tied to these working landscapes. Our cultural heritage is tied to these working lands. This isn't empty farmland, but is productive land that drive the economy of our county. Allowing hundreds of acres of utility-scale solar developments could destroy that. Let's protect what we have here. We definitely need size limits to utility-scale solar. We can lead by example by getting on board with renewable energy, by considering utility-scale solar on county-owned land if it fits with the comprehensive plan, instead of using up our valuable working farmland. Let's install rooftop solar to keep the energy generation local, powering the needs of the building that are using that energy. And we have time. We are just at the early stages of utility-scale solar permit applications. There will be more proposals to come. Let's write this ordinance to protect what we know is working in Page County, our thriving tourism industry, based on our beautiful landscapes and views and our hardworking agricultural operations. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson.
Mr. Chairman, there's one more speaker. Our audio has kicked off again. Would you like me to try to restart it?
Please.
Because the public.
Please,
It's on.
absolutely.
I'm sorry, I don't know why I keep doing this.
I hope the audio didn't hit my comments.
Welcome to Zoom. Enter your meeting ID followed by pound. Enter your participant ID followed by pound. You are in the meeting now. There are 4 participants in the meeting. This meeting is being recorded. You are muted. You can mute or unmute yourself by pressing *6. You are unmuted.
Okay.
Brad Graves.
Good evening.
All right.
Last time you all met, Representative Berkeley Group came here. Unfortunately, wasn't able to meet because I had a family event that I wanted to go to and that took precedent. But I was regretful not coming, and I opted not to come because I didn't think that I would be able to come at all because of the amount of people who would be there. I heard later that was changed, and much to my dismay, I heard that it had been enlarged. So it kind of gave like the Berkeley Group made an impression that it wasn't really there, that people weren't object to industrial solar. As you all are evaluating this solar ordinance, take into account a lot of what other people said tonight. I echo some of that, but also go to more specifics to that too. My family has been here in this county providing employment and revenue through Ray Caverns, bringing here for over 121 years. During this time, we have collectively learned a thing or two about our business, especially in tourism, as we live in the county. Very soon, the Ray Caverns and our business has prospered from tourism here. It's going to celebrate August 13th, 1878, 142 years of our business. The natural beauty of this area has been its most prized asset to bring people here to that business. It's not just Ray Caverns, as I've said so many times. So I'll reiterate. This has been going on 142 years. And people were marked back in 1878, 1879 to present about the remarkable beauty of where we live and the uniqueness of that beauty. The visitors that we attract here are from all over the country and all over the world. We represent 65 countries a year normally, this year. I don't know if that's gonna be the case. These people spend their money, they stay here in the county, they stay here overnight, eat at our restaurants, not just at the Gowers, but every town here in the county. They stroll along our greenways and float down our rivers, shop in our shops, get married here, buy real estate here, come again and again to bring their children and grandchildren. This natural beauty is fragile, and there are many ways that we, including myself at times, maybe take it for granted. But we can, you as a body and as a governing agency, need to understand that we cannot take this enormous economic resource engine for granted. You won't know how fragile that asset and engine is until you damage it, and it's too late. Hence, total disregard for scenic byways established years ago by our comprehensive plan that, in my opinion, should have stayed there. No reason they shouldn't. In my 56 years, and 120 years my family business has served in this county, many outsiders have come and gone with sweet words to allure this county with schemes that have hurt this county. We need to proceed with extreme care and caution so that this does not continue to happen again. I'm like most common sense people here that favor cleaner alternative energy. I'm a favor of solar. Always told you I am. It's just how much in scale and size it matters. It really matters. And yes, in our rush to do our part, we should be very careful not to damage this unique physical and economic landscape that we have in Page County for projects that will have a huge impact on our basic revenues and what's already successful. Why mess up what's already successful? That just doesn't make any sense to me. I've been and am strongly opposed to large-scale industrial solar, which would be very large swaths and cannot be disguised or hidden because of the bold shape of this county and the Skyline Drive, which brings millions of visitors in revenue yearly to this county. I hope this board will oppose projects that are larger than 150 acres, and that you will protect our 340 and 211 highway corridors with at least a quarter of a mile distance mentioned earlier as well. It's what I would definitely agree with as well. It's just common sense. This is a sufficient distance so it's not ugly when you're coming into the county. They're ugly. They're not pretty. They're industrial plants. This means we care for our entrances to our basic communities as the people come in and as they exit our communities. When they bring their money here and they exit. That's a good thing. That keeps you all in business too. And I also ask that we have a cap in the number of projects and make sure that our county would not be forced into producing more energy than we actually consume. We shouldn't sacrifice our farmland and our unparalleled views to be the energy ghetto of Northern Virginia. We have a unique opportunity here to protect our county, and I hope we be wise enough about stepping on quicksand. Do not let this feel-good project come back on us and have self-evident damage to our beautiful home we call Page County.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gray.
There are no more speakers.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. I thank you all for coming here and giving your opinion. And I do want to say that what we went through the Berkeley group last week, they brought it up. That's still under discussion. Nothing's firm on that. So we're still working on that.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I would like to correct one piece of misinformation.
Please.
At no point, at any time in that meeting, this commission recommended we have no limit. That was one comment by one commissioner off the cuff, and when we went back around the room, he said, this is my personal opinion, but I'm the anarchist in the group, and I know that'll never happen. At the end of that meeting, when we went back around the room, Ms. Cobb asked, does anybody in this commission want to increase that from 500? Not a single hand went up. And she said, now we're getting some. So that is patently untrue, that this commission is entertaining no limit on solar farms. It did not happen, and it is not true.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I would echo and also say that, actually, I think some of the discussion supported one of the presenters tonight in saying that we don't need to be concerned about the total acreage, that the fundamental difficulty is the acreage covered by solar panels. And the current offering doesn't go that route, 500 acres at a certain percentage. And yes, I think that we wanted to redefine that.
And we clearly told the Berkeley Group last meeting.
I think I think it's fine to send a reminder to them that we really don't embrace the current structure. I think that's what I got from the meeting. Now, while we're on it, we did a thing where we raised hands, and we need to also let the Berkeley Group know that that's just not appropriate to do raising hands. How could someone have 2 complaints? Because no one can, the speaker says, raise your hand. How's the person that can't come to the meeting to read that? We should definitely do something with the Berkeley Group that demonstrates a little more clearly what the members' stances are, rather than silently raising hands.
And back to the area part, we told them up front, this will be the hardest thing that we do. We're going to put that to the end. No decisions have been made. It is very much still under deliberation and discussion.
I do support taking the 500 acres out, and I do support eliminating the percentage, because they seem to be meaningless, fundamentally meaningless. I think that, and I agree, Mr. Chairman, we haven't put a marker in the ground yet,
Right.
in my opinion.
And we're still getting answers from the Berkeley Group on all of our other questions we've had, so we've got a long way to go here with stuff that was put up. Thank you all very much. Anybody else have any other comments they want to make there?
So I'll just follow up to that. I was gonna do it during my clerk's time, but it seems like now it's appropriate. The Berkeley Group is scheduled to come back to the meeting, with the items that were discussed at the meeting when they were here on September the 22nd. So that is the next date that they are scheduled to come.
I'm sorry, the date again?
September 22nd, 22.
22, okay. All right. All right. Well, thank you all very much for that. Under the chairman's report, I'd like to say thank you all for coming here. It really is, every commission needs the citizens to come and show up. Not just us, but people, whether you're for it or against it or whatever. We really appreciate you coming here. I remember when Natalie Zuckerman was the only person ever showing up. I didn't always agree with Ms. Zuckerman, but by God, I really did appreciate her being here. And because I do want to hear an opinion, a different opinion. I don't want just go around the room and then we're all compliant and that's the end of it. It's good to have a little struggle. And so thank you all for coming here. I really do appreciate that. I don't have anything more. Do you have anything more?
Just a couple of items. Knott's Roofing is scheduled for a public hearing with the Board of Supervisors next week on the 18th for their rezoning request. So FYI on that. I still have one more SUP that's going to be probably coming to you soon. They have everything except for one little check off from the health department. It is for an auto repair facility. So that is coming down the pipeline. At your table tonight, I handed out 2 additional things. The first thing was is it the pass memo? Anyway, this was written by Darren Coffey, who heads the Berkeley Group related to solar. I would encourage you to read it. I know it was provided at a meeting a while back, but
I don't know if I'm the only one, but I'm missing 1 page out of 2. I only have one side of the page, so I have page
Oh, yeah.
1, page 3, page 7, but I don't
Yeah,
have
you're
the
right.
reverse.
It's odd. Maybe odd pages.
I'll get that to you. I'll send it in the mail.
Okay.
sorry,
that's
Tracy,
great.
I was just
Thank you,
looking through it.
Kathy.
I thought
Thank
it
you
was
for
really-
pointing that
My
out.
defense is
Good
that it's
fun.
copier, operator error. So I'll mail it out to you
Thank
all.
Oh, wait a minute, they're in the back.
Are they?
They're in the back.
You know what it is?
Yep.
I have the right one, so I
I
don't
can't
know what
see.
you all have.
so I'm-
It's all,
No,
the-
the things in the
It's
back
all
are
the,
different.
all the evens in the back, yeah.
Yeah, but they're
They're numbered.
Well, no, but
They're numbered.
6, 8,
so it's something different.
where's 9?
It's a document that's 19 pages long, because I have it here. So I
Okay.
think
So
it was.
the-
I'll mail it
Okay,
to you.
okay.
It'll go out in the
okay.
mail. Sorry about that.
Well, thank you. But, all right, so,
And then lastly,
you reading this?
the Ms. Brecht completed the planning commissioner program. I know there's some members that still haven't done that, and I just, as an FYI, attached the schedule for the next ones for the remainder of the year. I know with the COVID stuff, travel is, it's difficult, no one wants to do it, I understand that, but it's good that, it's always good when somebody does it, so I like to point that out.
And if I might add, it was a great experience. I recommend that everybody who hasn't done it do it. It was really good.
Who else?
A lot of work though, a lot of
Oh.
homework, big fat books to what, but it's given me a clear perspective of what we should be doing as a commissioner, and I understand why the Berkeley group insists on certain things. For instance, that the comprehensive plan and the ordinances match up. So thank you for the opportunity, for sending me there, and I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Who else needs it? Who has not taken it besides?
Keith,
Keith, and what about,
John didn't do the second part, so.
okay, and then also what about,
Jared has not
Jared?
done it.
All right, we need to get, you need to send something to them this week on that in order to.
I know, it's
going.
gonna be a little difficult. I mean, well, yours hit during the middle, so.
So
how
we
was
had
yours?
the opening session live in Harrisonburg, and some attorneys came. That was the most interesting part, talking about to us about what we should or shouldn't do as commissioners. And that was really interesting for our own protection and for the integrity of the planning commission. It was interesting because there was a lot of people from other jurisdictions. That was really interesting. I really enjoyed all the presentations. Then we had to do homework. It's about 10 weeks of homework. It's quite a lot of work, but it is worth it. And then there was supposed to be a live closing session that we couldn't have because that was June and that was canceled. So we had a recording of a previous session that we had to listen to and comment on. So yeah, it's a lot of work, but I think it was worth it. And it certainly gave me the knowledge that I feel that I needed to be a better commissioner.
So maybe that's how they're doing them right now. I'm not sure. I mean, if anyone is interested, I can certainly reach out and,
Well,
see if they've resumed in person.
I
My
think there's
speculation
something
is-
about they need to be, you need to have it done. You need to get that, once they're in there's a time limit or something like that.
It is in the bylaws. It
So
does
we need
say.
to get that going.
It does say dependent on funds, so,
Okay.
but yeah, I'm, anybody that's interested, and I'll send it to the ones that aren't here, let me know, and, you know, I can figure out how they're doing it now, so. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Do you have anything more or understand what the creative zoning approaches is?
I don't, but I'm scheduled to go to that, assuming that they still have it.
You're going to?
Uh-huh,
Okay.
yeah, assuming that they have it. It's still.
Is that November? Oh, yeah.
It's, yeah.
Okay.
So I could say one thing as well. Once you've attended that class, they give you a year free membership to the American Planning Association, and that's where these documents come from. That's called the Planning Advisory Service, and it is an arm of the Planning Commission. These are tools that are given to people that are certified planners in order to help them write an ordinance, in this case, solar. It's a really useful document. So you get to pay $10 if you're not part of the association, you get it for free. So there's benefits of being part of the association, such as access of documents like this for free or for $10, rather than, I guess in an extreme case, having to hire a consultant because you already have some stuff. So there's a lot of useful resources. There was the memo and an addendum, and the addendum actually has pretty much a text ready for solar ordinance, and it even has the recommended use permit conditions for Virginia already written out. So really useful document. So if you could get us all the photocopies, I think we'd all benefit from reading.
Sorry about that. Again, there's operator. I'll mail it out to you.
You have
Also-
both? Tracy, do you have both? You have the memo and the addendum?
The only one that I have, the original is 8 pages. So
No,
maybe-
there's an addendum that's actually even more interesting.
Okay. Maybe I'll get you to send it to me.
I'll
You
try.
have it?
If not, you can take a hard copy.
Okay, okay.
You know.
Promise I'll get it out to you though, at some point this week.
It was initially brought to my attention by Miss Anderson.
And that's the email that I pulled
Yeah.
this off of, so.
So maybe she has both copies. My problem is my membership with the American Association of Planners hasn't been processed yet. They're waiting for some COVID stuff. So I can't have access, but she had access to it.
I will
And she
email it
happened
to
to
you.
mention it to me, and I said, oh, great, send me a copy, because I'm having a problem getting mine. So I think you have them, Ms.
I do.
Anderson? Because they're both really great documents. You know, and it's interesting coincidence that that document, which is meant for every planner in America, is actually authored by the same man who's the, I believe, the CEO of the Berkeley Group, whom we've hired.
Oh, okay, I thought you talked about Dr. Chandler.
Oh, he's the, whatever, the owner, or he's, anyhow,
He's a principal.
the principal. I'm sorry, my mistake. I thought he was,
Still pretty high up.
yeah. No, I just wanted to bring that to you.
Tracy, is, also, just in case somebody does want to go to like the creative zoning approaches other than you, is there a budget available? Okay, for one or two.
Not much, but that's only $100.
Yeah, just enough to pay for the course, but
Yeah.
you gotta travel there on your own time, right?
You do, but, you know, I'll be taking a county vehicle down. I'm happy
Also,
to
you-
have people ride, we can wear a mask together.
So it's available, so for those of you who are available, it's in November, so, it's always good to learn these things. Okay,
Mr. Chairman.
yes.
Tracy, I got a phone call from two members of the community asking a question about subdivisions next to the river, in which the lot lines seem to be, and it's in a subdivision, so you have individual lots inside the subdivision, and I'm sure you have some places where all members of the community can walk. And then but they also had a thing, I think the issue was exactly where does the lot end? Does the lot end at the water's edge? Does the lot end in the middle? And I didn't really have an answer. Seems like, though, years ago, we may have had an issue with something like that, how to handle the common ground in the subdivision in terms of setbacks. And of course, I had no immediate answer, nor did I really feel a need to do that. But I might just want to refer that to the subcommittee, because we're likely to get those questions. And I just need some clarification if indeed I'm supposed to get any feedback to a member of the community.
And I can comment on that situation if you'd like. Is that
I
okay?
think it would help me.
Okay. So we had someone who was wanting to build a freestanding deck platform along the river. They went ahead and did the pier holes without getting a permit. They came in and said, I'm gonna get my permit though, and they did, they applied. When I went to do the zoning, so in most of the deeds, luckily, normally it will say that the owner owns to the center of the river. So when I always pull deeds when I go out to do zoning verifications, because there's 9 times out of 10, there's right-of-ways that are on paper that are not physically at the site. So I always have the deeds in black if there is one. With that situation, his did not say he owned the center of the river. So what,
Center of the river.
nope, I've seen them often, actually, most of them say that they own to the center of the river. But a lot of them, more so in certain subdivisions, don't say that. So what we did with that situation was, obviously, I have to go by where the pins are set on the property. The pins were set by a licensed surveyor, so I left it, I put the burden of proof on the applicant and said, you prove to me, I physically have to go off of this setback. The pin was here, the deck was down here, obviously beyond his property line, what appears to be his property line. He hired a surveyor to come into the office, and he was able to prove to me that it extended down the bank, and that situation was resolved. But unfortunately, we have to involve a surveyor. I'm not a surveyor. I don't know where everyone's property lines are at in Page County. Everybody assumes the zoning office knows where every line is. We don't. If you are building a shed on your property and I come out to zone your property, if there are no pins set from a surveyor, I'm relying on you knowing where your property lines are at. Now, if you tell me you don't know where your property lines are at, that's when I'm gonna tell you, you need a survey. Because again, we don't have record of where lines are at. The only agency, department, company that's gonna know is the surveyor. So we were able to resolve that, and so in that particular situation, what they had done was, they had actually set the pin 30-some feet up the bank.
So you could find the pin. Right.
The pin was still on the
That's
edge of
wonderful.
the bank.
I thank you so much
Yeah.
for resolving that.
Yeah.
And
Luckily, it
I
worked
only
out.
mention it because I know you do subdivisions. It's a problem that I had not heard, except I thought I remembered that maybe we ran into that once before, where, just the way she described it, too. I personally don't think you could have handled it any other way. I think you had to go by the evidence that was in front of you while you're on the property, but I do appreciate you giving them the option. Even though that it involves some expense, and maybe that would be one of the things that if we do ever have subdivisions, which I think
Well-
we've had 2 in the last 22 years, it would probably be good if those kind of things were standard.
Correct me if I'm wrong, we stopped on the subdivisions because that's gonna get rolled into work that the Berkeley group is doing.
That is correct.
Yeah.
We have a stakeholder date, public workshop set. It's not been advertised, but it will be in the beginning week of September for the zoning and subdivision of land ordinance. So we're working on that.
I just look at you guys as our experts, because we have not done subdivisions, with the exception of the small division in Luray, which you were here for, and the Lucas subdivision, which was the last true subdivision. I know that was 22 years ago, so, or at least that long ago. So, but thank you, that was helpful.
All right, any more comments? No? Okay. I better make sure. That's it. We're adjourned.